Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Welcome back to another edition of the Andrew Don't Know Football Fantasy Extravaganza. Thank you for bearing with me as well throughout the delay between episodes. Obviously, I was in Disney World, so I had an excuse. The recovery time from Disney World is something that I don't think I took into consideration, as well as some obligations over the weekend, which kept me from recording. But here we are, and let's just do it. I already know you guys are aware of what happened last week, but I want to do a quick summary. Hits from the gong edged out myself. I had the lowest score in total of the week at 78.4. He had Chuba Hubbard with 22.9 and a Mark Andrews with 15.8 leading the way. So yeah, I'm the asshole. Lowest score of the week, 78.4. On to Pachitas Heart, our high score of the week. A lot of love for Pachitas too in the voicemails coming a little later on in the show. He took down the Chickens, the Cluckers, I like to say, powered by Jamar Chase's 49.9 points explosive. That's the highest single player score across the league as well. And the Laracies and Pochita's Heart wrap up our high score of the week at 142.64. There he is, narrowly claimed the victory over Companionship, a very low scoring affair. Companionship with the win. 87 to 85 and some change. Moving on, massive spread. 140 to the Flapjacks, who've lost, I think, now 7 to 8 in a row. They're just his dominance behind Lamar Jackson, massive spread, is really rolling. We'll talk a little bit more about Lamar later on in the episode as well. On to the Corns and the Dax. The Corns, a very solid squad, had a huge win against Widers Dax, led by Jalen Hurts and the Eagles defense, scoring 20 points. So I'll get to some of the standing highlights later, but I also want to do that later in the week once Week 11 is concluded. That was our Week 10 recap. I wanted to get into a few just highlights there. Things are all going well at the Mahoney household. The Disney World trip was an ultimate success. But hey, that's all I got for the recap. Stay tuned. There's going to be another synopsis of this week, and we're going to take a deeper look at the standings later on, perhaps Thursday night before the slate of the prime games or game, whatever. Either way, let's get into voicemails. We got 2 this week, but they're very quality, and I think I had a lot to say. So here you go.
Hey Tim, it's Skinner. Just wanted to say I love the show. Wanted to call in and just give a quick shout out to Pochita's Heart. Man, that's a good team with a terrible record, and I think they could get hot here. I know they're playing Cody, but I just wanted to say that it's a very well-run team. Anyway, thanks again. I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, hey Skinner, thanks for the call. We really appreciate it. The good team, with the terrible record is an age-old adage here in the Andrew Don't Know Football Dynasty League, and Pochita's Heart is a buzzworthy team, basically weekly. Your hot button topic, constantly coming in. People are taking notice. I keep them coming, though. I couldn't agree more. They are a well-run organization, and the passion's there. But the last 2 playoff spots are entirely up for grabs. It's really between anybody from, above the Flapjacks can get those last 2 spots. So the top of the league is taking notice because that's massive spread that just called. And I don't think that anybody wants to play Pochita's Heart in the playoffs. But, I don't expect that to change anytime soon either. But we'll see. So, yeah, like an individual comparison, Joe Burrow has 20-something tutties and 3 interceptions. His team has 4 wins. Just them's the breaks, guys. So we'll see what happens. But, no, thanks for the call, and keep them coming, Skin Man. Appreciate it.
Hey now, first-time caller, long-time listener, big fan. I am a big fan of this show. I think, Tim, you're doing a fantastic, a bang-up job, if you will, of just really bringing this back in. We want to talk a little bit about history here, but I do have to say that probably the best part about fantasy was the boards and then the weekly recap of the commission note, which just kind of really went away. And I feel like it kind of hurt the integrity of the league. And I got to tell you, this little podcast weekly update that we have is just, I got to tell you, Tim, hats off to you. I got to ask you, as my first part question is, what's your favorite ride to go into on Disney? And I'll tell you, a great thing for everybody out there if you've been to Disney lately is you go to Epcot and you drink around the world. I got to tell you get pretty drunk. And speaking about being drunk, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but it sounded like Brendan Cody might have tossed back a couple too many cocktails on that little hotline that he left last recap. I mean, I kind of want to use this as an opportunity to call up Brendan Cody for a challenge in a weekly matchup here. Pochito's Heart here, I feel like we've had a bad run, Tim, and I feel like, we've been putting up a lot of points, and we're going against Brendan Cody this week, and I just want to say that I really feel like we're gonna take him down, and, I think this is a big week for us to come back. And, I got a two-part question for you here, Tim, is one, who do you think is going to finish as the number one team in the league this year? And I want to follow up with that is just on a side note of who do you think is going to finish as the number one fantasy player? There's been a lot of people, picking up and dropping. I mean, I've heard somebody, drop Herbert, which I'm just really surprised by that, calling him a bum. I think that I think he's a fantastic player, but want to also know who you think is going to be the best player this year. I'll hang up and wait for your responses.
I love it when I hear from a longtime listener and they pick up that phone and leave a beautiful voicemail. As such, I appreciate that. One of the co-owners there of Pochito's Heart, Matt the Bat Laircy. So, yeah, no, like I said, the integrity of the league, it does very much ride on updates, whether they're boards and banter, emails, or synopsises, but the fact is I'm unemployed. I got some personal bandwidth over here, so I figured why not get a little bit of a production going out of this deal. And that said, I got nothing, so here we are. But for your first question, in terms of my favorite ride at Disney, so I'm going to break it down by park, but my favorite really of all time was at Epcot Center, and it's the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride. The most intense experience I'd ever had, coupled with the most advanced visual stimulating experience, as well as the intensity level of pulling G's, like with my face being ripped off. At the end of the ride, I honestly thought my eyes were over here. It was unbelievable. I won't give anything away to any folks who are going to be moving forward to Disney World and haven't had a chance to experience Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot Center, but what an experience from, the moment you get into line and, through the entire process. Holy shit. Can't even get over it. And also the fact that we were at Epcot by the time we did get out, Saoirse was having a meltdown, but we were on our way out and they both napped. So that added 2 hours to mom and dad going on a tour of the world. Got champagne in France, found the little quaint garden in England, right in the back. It's as quiet as can be, perfect. It's just having beers throughout. Stopped into every country for sure, and I'd spend primarily a lot of time early on in Norway because we were at the Frozen ride, another unbelievable experience, and Mexico, where they had changed the ride in Mexico, where it used to be, I think, might have been a little dicey in terms of the content, that was being provided, but now it's very much the Donald Ducks and the Three Calaberos, so take it for what it's worth. Awesome time, though. So moving on, this is going to be a loaded answer to a great call. Epcot Center, now Magic Kingdom, we did that day one. I also got to go to the Magic Kingdom during the Christmas party, which is the opportunity I had to ride Tron with my brother-in-law. Now, we had both already been on Guardians of the Galaxy, but, why pull 2 Gs when you could pull 4? Am I right? Not as intense, because it's very much a smoother track. Remember, you're on the motorcycles, Tron style, but just as good visually and insane speeds. So that was another thing, and we had both started cackling laughter before the ride had started taking off and just had that contagious burst where we couldn't stop, and I was worried that I was going to pass out because I couldn't get my breath, so I was trying to concentrate, stop laughing, get your breath, and we couldn't. Made the experience all the more better. So, I mean, besides Peter Pan's Flight 2, that's just a classic, honorable mention. Tron, not as intense as Guardians, just as fun and fast as hell. On to Hollywood Studios. I didn't get to cover as much ground there as possible. It was day 3. The kids were a little bit dicey, but I did experience Rise of the Resistance. It was on my birthday. I won't give too much away in terms of, storyline, plot, etc. However, when you do get detained, you kind of have to play along. And because it was my birthday and I was wearing my pin, I was getting razzed a little bit more than everybody. So that made it a little bit more fun. I rode that with my dad. There was one point as well where you're on the spaceship, not giving much away, but we're basically in the cockpit, and I'm looking around and there's all these little kids behind us. I probably couldn't see anything, but it was my birthday and I had the pin on, so fuck them. And yeah, no, Disney, it couldn't have gotten better. Like, as soon as I got out of the Rise of the Resistance, I had to go meet Potatoes at the entrance. If you're familiar with the layout of that park, which I can't imagine many of you are, but if you are, completely on the opposite end. So I had Liam, who had enough of my mom, had to carry him, didn't have the stroller, all the way across, 87-degree heat, pouring rain, all that. Awesome time, though. Hollywood Studios, I could seriously spend 12 hours there by myself, I think, and be one of those weirdos. But, yeah, I had to get back to the entrance, let Potatoes in as her phone wasn't syncing with the Magic Band, and that's a story for another day. So, no, on to your other questions. It was a two-parter. Who do I think is going to finish as a number one team in totally opinion here? If I had to guess, I think it's going to be the Dax. I know Massive Spread and Skinner have put a lot of work into sustainability, but like I said, if I had to pick, go with Wydra and the Dax. Who's going to be the number one player across the league? Right now it is Lamar Jackson. That does not look to be slowing down anytime soon. He has a 30-some-odd point lead over Joe Burrow as well as Jalen Hurts. So that said, unless Lamar takes a game or two off during the tenure of Andrew Don't Know Football's 2024 dynasty run, maybe, but I think he's going to run away with it, and it's going to be Lamar Jackson. A former keeper alert, traded him as well to Skinner's squad back in the day. So, and yeah, another thing about Herbert. So I took that asset, flipped that for Bo Nix. Good trade for both teams. Kind of shocked that he was out there. I was lucky enough to get him in the waiver wire. Beating a dead horse. We've talked about Herbert for quite some time. Yeah, I don't know. I got another young quarterback out the deal and an asset from 2025 draft class. So I can't complain. I don't think Skinner can either, because if Lamar does take a break, gets bumped up, he's loaded with quarterbacks, so he's going to be able to keep and sustain that momentum. Decent filler. I just can't get over that Cody dropped him. But, hey, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it, guys. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Please stay tuned. I promise I will be dropping an episode before this Sunday slate. I'm going to try to do it Thursday. I got to look for a job. I'm also running my business, Upheld Technology, so any technology needs, from managed services through sourcing connectivity issues, call your boy T-Business. Same hotline as the Andrew Don't Know Football voicemails. So keep those coming, guys, and we will see you soon. Take care.